Hello, hello, everybody. This is Helen with One Structural, with our divisions ADU1, Retrofit 1, and Balcony 1. Here for you today, kind of an impromptu little webinar that I was going to do. So thank you for joining me last minute. I wanted to go over something. It's been a big topic lately. We do this a lot. Almost every couple of weeks we're doing one of these. So I wanted to dedicate a webinar just for unpermitted dwelling units. We get a lot of those questions. There's a lot of units out there, bootleg units and everything that can get utilized now under the ADU law. So thank you again for joining us. Excuse my color. I feel like I match my background. I'm like the same color as the wood. So I think it's just the lighting or something in here. But anyways, I'm going to be, I made like a little brief presentation via PowerPoint. So I'll be using that to help get kind of some of the main points across to help legalize your unpermitted dwelling units, AKA bootleg units. A lot of this pertains to Los Angeles. Other cities may have their own route, but a lot of them most likely can follow in these steps. So I will start sharing the slides. Hopefully you can see them and it follows along. If you can't, please let me know in the chat and I will try to adjust it if possible. All right, so hopefully you can see that, which is the first slide. So here we go. Unpermitted dwelling unit. So what is a UDU? UDU stands for unpermitted dwelling unit. It may or may not have its own share of these independent living facilities, as you see. A lot of them are in pretty decent shape that kind of pass through our desk or email. Sometimes we're just sent photos or sometimes we just go inspect them ourselves. So more often than not, I notice they are in pretty decent shape. Sometimes they are actually currently being rented out. Sometimes they're not at all, but the owner wants to get them their certificate of occupancy so they can start renting it out and start getting rent on this space and add some more housing to the crazy market right now. So win-win for everybody. So from what we've seen, they're usually built up to hopefully whatever code was in place at the time of when they were built. So we do see, that they have regular bathrooms, kitchens, sometimes a little tighter than normal, I'd see, or they may have not been done according to set plans, obviously. So they may not have the best layout, which is what I've noticed, but that's okay. We can help you with that if something major is needed. Otherwise, they're usually okay as is. So they may be up to code, they might not. If they were up to code from 10, 15, 20 years ago, some items may have to change now. So what are the steps to legalize your UDU, aka bootleg unit? So you can either go through the UDU ordinance. Los Angeles has one, for example, or you can just do the regular ADU route for that unit. The difference being is not everybody will qualify for the UDU ordinance, and I believe there's some affordable housing clauses within the UDU ordinance, at least in LA. So not all of the projects qualify for that, nor do you often have the capacity to provide affordable housing units to designate them as such in order to do your to go through the UDU path. So if it doesn't qualify or it's just not the best route for your property, we can just do it as a regular ADU, basically. There is one requirement for that I'll get into soon, but more likely than not, you can just go through the regular ADU route and get that unit permitted as an ADU. This usually works out better than doing a primary unit count, because as a primary unit path, because as a primary unit, you're under so many different requirements than an ADU would. The biggest one that we know the ADU exemption has is for parking. So if you don't have enough parking for this unit, or maybe just in terms of zoning and density requirements and lot size requirements for a primary, you wouldn't qualify for that route. You at least have the ADU route. So that's why this one's just a little easier in terms of obstacles and red tape, I would say. So the path we use, and again, there may be more than one path to get this legalized. This is what we do, especially when using the ADU route for your unpermitted unit. If there are other methods, great, but this is the one that we use. We submit engineering plans to the city just as a regular ADU. We do the plan check process with the city, and then once those plans are approved, we schedule your inspection the inspector to come out and do the inspection. So within the plans are your, they often do ask for structural, even if it's already an existing, space within the building. We do get that request a lot. So we typically do structural and architectural design in your set of plans. The MEP, your mechanical, electrical, plumbing, if those are required when the inspector comes out, we can do those as well. Sometimes they're required, sometimes they're not. So we don't do them right off the bat. We would just rather, get your plans in as fast as possible and into plan check. But they do want to see, the structure of the unit. Where are all of the rooms? Where's the kitchen? Where's the bathroom? The sizes, dimensions, and so forth. So that's what we have to show them in order to pull the permit and get this unit legalized. So that's the first step. Create the plans and submit them. Just to backtrack a little, in general, I should have had this slide before, but the first step really is that we go visit your unit. We make sure, that the unit does qualify, of course. We would just check for just the current condition, basically, of the unit. If it does already have, the living facilities in there, then you would just be able to. Some UDUs that we go visit, everything's kind of torn out, the kitchen, the bathroom, and stuff like that. So if that's the case, we would really just take it in as a whole ADU, basically, and we'd give you a quote to do all of that work, because that's not really going to be able to just do the path that I just described, submit plans and then schedule an inspection. The inspector is going to come out and they're going to need, to see everything. You still can, but it's better to submit the plans with, a designed kitchen, designed plumbing, designed bathroom. So that way, when it does come time to putting those in, they're already based on approved plans. So it just helps kind of have that process be a little smoother. So if your unit qualifies, that's when, we would let you know we can move forward with doing these plans to submit to the city. And once they're approved, we schedule the inspection. The inspector comes out, they'll have the full set of plans, large copy. They'll compare it basically to the unit that they are inspecting. And then from there, they will issue some corrections. Oftentimes, this is basically like a punch list of what they're going to need or what would need to be upgraded. Sometimes it's just a few minor things. Sometimes, again, as mentioned, they may ask for your MEP plans because they need to see if they're unable to verify those electrical components or plumbing. They will ask to then see plans that will show exactly where all of those components are. So that way that's what they can approve. So the inspector will do their walk around and basically give you a list of this is what I'm going to need. So the types of corrections really vary based, of course, again, on the current condition of the unit and what the inspector is able to see that day versus what they'll have to come back. Some common ones that we see is they'll check your bathroom. They'll make sure, one, does it have proper ventilation? Is there a window or does it need a fan? They'll check your outlets to make sure all of those are up to code. There's a certain, length or feet that they have to be within certain doorways or openings, something like that. They would want to see if you have recessed lighting, the cans, are those fire rated? They may need to open up a patch in the wall to check for fire ratings, insulation, electrical, stuff like that. So those are just a few of the kind of punch list items or corrections that they'll need to see. So they basically need to verify that this unit that you're trying to permit is up to code. I do see a couple of people just hopped on. If you missed the beginning, it's okay. These get saved to our YouTube channel. So right after, you could go back and just watch the beginning of it. So do not worry if you just hopped in. To summarize, basically, if your unit qualifies, our path is submitting, working on engineering and architectural plans, submitting to the city, getting them approved, and then scheduling the inspection, which is where we're at with this slide. And upon the inspection, these are some typical corrections that often come back. So once you get that list, It is now up to the owner and whomever they're working with. We're the contractor, obviously, so we can provide you with a quote at that time based on that punch list. Oftentimes, it's a little hard to predict exactly what they're going to want or say because it does vary per unit and based on those current conditions. But whatever they give you, most likely it's within our scope. We will then be able to give you a quote for whatever you want to take care of, or obviously you can go with whomever you want, or if you have a handyman who can just take care of these if they're just minor corrections, it may be faster and easier. Once all of those corrections are done and you have, your a little patch in the wall opened up if that's needed, and your recessed lighting can exposed, and anything else upgraded, outlets moved, stuff like that. If you needed your MEP plans, those usually take, I would say, about 3 to 4 weeks. And those are typically express permits that can just be done in one day, luckily. So they're not going to set you back too much. So once all of those are into place or whatever it is, we then schedule the inspector to come back. They come back, they check everything that they asked for. And if it's all good and everything passes, everything will be approved. And then that's when you can move on to getting your certificate of occupancy. So lastly, just some general considerations, especially like what we ask for when we're doing that initial site visit. One, we would check your ceiling height to make sure it's at least 7.5 feet, which is the requirement for dwelling. A big one is, what was this dwelling unit before it was this bootleg unit? Was it a rec room? Was it a storage room that the owner just converted? Or the biggest one that they this basically what the cities are looking for. They just want to make sure it was never part of a unit. So an illegal unit subdivision, they really frown upon those. They don't like them. So they make it a little tougher if it was part of a unit. I know then we get asked, well, how are they going to know? Is there proof? They'll basically fight with us back and forth to show proof, any original plans, which is why I do have plans from when the unit was created. If you do showing that it was a rec room or a storage room or was never part of a existing unit, it'll just make the process go by more quickly and smoothly. If you don't have any, evidence or plans or proof of what it was, that's fine. Just expect that little delay of them going back and forth to try to verify if it was in fact a unit subdivision or not. And then the whole process, I would say, again, could take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. And as always, this depends on the current conditions. What was the unit before? Do you have the proof right away or not? So this is basically what it takes to get your unpermitted dwelling unit legalized. So at least you can then have a certificate of occupancy and get it up to speed. I will say also another consideration is how many existing units do you have? Because as an ADU, it will still fall under that 25% rule when it's attached. So if you have less than 8 units, you could really only do that for one UDU. If you have more than 8, then you would still, again, be up to, I don't know how many UDUs you have in your apartment. We typically really only see one. But if you do have more, it will still go under that 25% rule, since we're taking the ADU route more likely than not. So that's basically it. In other words, high chance of getting your bootleg unit legalized and rented out legally, which is great. You can start using the space, collecting rent, and add to the housing market. So if you have an unpermitted dwelling unit, give us a call. We can be out there. We can either meet with you, or our field technician can meet you to take the dimensions, pictures, photos, stuff like that, ceiling height to let you know if it qualifies. But give us a call. Even if you're not in LA, we can let you know if your city will be able to do this smoothly or not. And especially that's why we sometimes just do the ADU route, since not every city has a UDU ordinance, nor is that ordinance always the best method for these units. So thank you again. Give us a call. Again, our divisions are Retrofit 1, which does seismic retrofitting for multifamily properties and single family brace and bolt. ADU1, of course, ADUs for multifamily properties and single family. And then our other division, Balcony 1, which does balcony inspections, deck inspections, and repairs under the SB 326 and SB 721 laws for all buildings with 3 or more units that are now required to get their balconies and decks inspected. Thank you again. I'm Helen with One Structural and all of the divisions, and I will see you next time. Take care.